All right, now that we've gone through all that, let's talk about the actual parts and some of the requirements of these headsets. First, we'll talk about the headset itself. This is the headset. This is the one for the Meta Quest. Okay, all right. And here's the one for the Samsung unit. They do look slightly different. Obviously, the headphones are obviously different. Okay, but the headset basically has. It's the goggle part that you look through. There's two little lenses, not little, but there's two lenses inside there. Okay, looks like eyeballs staring back at you, and you can adjust this the length between the distance between the lenses to kind of help fit your. They call it the pupil distance or inner pupil distance, and that's adjustable on this. Same thing with this other headset. So it's pretty common across these headsets. Okay, so it's got the two lenses. There's two screens in there. All right, so that's what makes these so much different than your cell phone cardboard headsets, among other things. So the goggle is surrounded by either a silicone or foam or a rubber surround here, okay, and that's kind of keeps it secure to your face and helps block out the light. This one's a little bit different on the Samsung unit. It does have the foam, all right, but it's actually got some foam on the top here. All right, so that's part of the thing that holds it to your head, which is a little bit different the way it sits on your face. There's a head strap, okay, that goes across the top on this particular unit. So it sits on top of your head. That's different on this unit where you don't have a head strap. Basically, you've got this forehead thing. I don't know what you'd call it, but it's there. And that's part of the thing that holds it to your head. These both have speakers or headphones built in. This has speakers in it. I'm not 100% certain where they are, but somehow the sound comes out of this while you're wearing, and it's a very very spatial sound with these headsets. Now on this other one, the headphones are actually a different integral part of the unit like that, all right? Okay, so they're just a little bit different. This does have a port. You could plug in some headsets or earbuds or whatever you feel like putting on. I don't know how a headset would work on this too well, but I think earbuds would probably work if you have some kind of transmitter, all right? These will all generally have some kind of a start button or different buttons and places to control things. This has a start button over here. It has a volume control on the bottom of the headset, so you can adjust that fairly simple when you have it on, all right? And they're easy to feel while you've got it on your face. It's got a USB-C charging port, okay? And there may be on some of these down the road, you may see like a micro SD card, something like that. This set's a little different, the Samsung, because this is the one that tethers to the PC. So basically when you plug it in, it turns on and you don't have to turn it on or off. It does have the volume controls on the bottom. I don't know if you can see that or not. Let's get that closer so you can see that maybe. Yeah, there they are. Okay, might be out of focus. This one has a rechargeable battery built inside. Okay, so you never change the battery, but there are external batteries you can buy that plug into the USB charging port. So there's some that goes on the actual headset, which is what I bought early on. Okay, that was part of a special package, and so this is part of the headset that you had to buy extra for the Quest. I didn't like it. It weighs a little bit, so we won't talk about that necessarily too much, but that's other ways to plug in your headset as far as power is concerned. This one's self-powered. Well, it's powered through your PC and the tether, okay? There's cameras built into these. So when you first put them on, a lot of times I call it a pass-through mode, where you put them on and you'll actually be able to look around, actually see the room you're in. And so there's a camera here, there. Let's see if you can see that very good or not. Okay, and then two more on the bottom, all right? And it's in black and white, but it does a pretty good job. This has two lenses on the Samsung unit. If you can see this, with being black, it's kind of hard to pick some of that up, but there's one and there's the other, shining in the light, all right? Okay, and again, that's going to give you it's just a black and white image. It's not the greatest resolution. You couldn't read what's on the screen, for example, when you look with those. That's one thing I've noticed. So let's put these aside for a minute, and let's move on to the controllers. So whenever you use these headsets, generally you will have to have something on your hands to help the headset know what you're doing or what you're trying to do. They're right and left hand specific. Okay, this is the one for the Quest, is the white one. All right. Now, when you, I noticed on these, they make it as difficult as possible to figure out which one's left and right, especially if you're in a dark room or something. But that really faint L there, so they've got a off-white sticker with a off-white little bitty L on the handle of this thing, of the off-white controller. And the same thing with this, it's got the little R. So that gets really rough to read. So have you noticed I put a big R and L on these things so I can pick them up real easy without trying to figure out which one's which. I don't use it enough where it's like, oh, these fit in this hand right away. I generally have to think about it before I do that. So on this one, we'll go ahead and get the controls on this. These both have a joystick type thing for your thumb. They have a couple of buttons, okay? And the buttons are different for each side depending on what you're doing. Same thing with the thumbs, with these thumb sticks. Each side will be different depending on the game or the activity. This also has, on the right-hand side, has a way to get back to the main menu of Quest. This has some other functions. It has some different functionalities. And in general, these will have triggers. You'll have one for your index finger. And so like that would generally be for like shooting or grabbing or something like that, doing a function. You've got grab, I call them grab buttons on the side. Okay, that's the same thing. They kind of do different things depending on what the game or activity is about. All right, so these are similar. These are hard to tell apart too. I'm not familiar with these. But there's a left and a right, and to make it difficult again for you to figure out which one's which, it's a jet black controller, and they've got this R. I don't know if I can get that to shine up or not. I guess you can right there a little bit. They got the R just kind of stamped in there, and the same thing with the L over here for the left one. And I don't know why they make that so difficult. So anyway, so this one's a little different. It does have the thumb controllers, okay, the thumbsticks. Instead of the A and B buttons or the two buttons on each, it's got like a pad, okay, that you punch around, all right? Okay, it has extra buttons as well, so they're very similar in function. There's an extra button on these as well. So depending on what you're doing, these controllers will have different functions for those buttons. Just like the other Quest set, the Samsung set has the trigger on the front. Let me see if I can show you that. It's a little different. They feel a bit different and are set up a little different, but okay, that's the trigger. And then the grab button, I call it, is on the side here. If you can see that or not. Okay, so as far as how they feel about the same once you get used to how they work and everything. I won't say one's better than the other. They're just similar. Okay, the controllers take batteries, and they're generally in the handset. I guess they're always in the handset. You can use rechargeables as well. I don't know if any of these come with pre-installed, like a charging unit. Okay, and this one just takes one battery. So they don't use much juice. I've had these in here for months on the one I bought on the Quest, and it just seems to last forever. Of course, I don't use it as much as maybe a lot of people might. So you might need also, we'll show some screenshots of this, some Wi-Fi connection or computer software. So you'll most likely need some kind of connection on something. So that will allow the unit to do things like update firmware, download content, and interact with others, depending on what's required for the activity you're doing. One unusual thing about these VR technology is when you get into it, they have what's called boundaries or virtual boundaries. That's kind of an unusual aspect of the virtual reality system. So you need to define what kind of area you'll be using it in. So if you're sitting, for example, you'll most likely use what's called a stationary boundary, and that'll be like a big circle around you, all right, around your body or wherever you're sitting. If you're going to be standing up, you could use a circle boundary as well. But a lot of those activities you'll be moving, so you'll probably want to have more area to move around, whether you're just some dancing games or some others that you might take a little bit of a step here and there. That's a different kind of boundary, and you can actually define what that boundary is using the controller. You just lay it out it's like a laser beam type thing, and you draw out the surrounding, where it's clear to do your activity. And so that brings up a point too when you're playing these things. Make sure the area, whether it's sitting down or standing up, make sure that you've got plenty of room to wave your arms or whatever you happen to be doing. So on some of these, you might need the wired PC connection. I think I've mentioned that. several times with the Samsung unit. Let me pull it up here. Get my mess up here. But the Samsung unit would take HDMI and a USB 3 connection. What you'll notice here is we've actually added a short tether, so we're not actually plugging and unplugging from the HDMI plug on the cable that's connected to the headset, because you can't change that out. So the cable is actually hardwired into the headset, so you want to take care of your connections on these. So that's something to consider if you're always plugging in and unplugging something from a computer or from some other thing. You'll definitely want to make sure that you take care of that connection. And so we figured out the best way to do that was, or one way to do that was to basically just put this, we have it taped on there, but just a short HDMI extension, okay? So that way if this gets messed up, you don't have to worry about replacing a cable or anything. USBs are pretty robust, so we didn't worry about that one. Okay. If you're using the Quest system and it's tethered, you actually have a USB cable plugged in right there. Again, that's a little bit limiting as far as how much you can move around or how far away you can get from your computer. So that's just something else to consider while you're using these. You do get better graphics, and that's a lot of times that's the only way you might be able to get a substantial amount of more information or more games and things into your headset. So you can do some of this wirelessly as well. It just may not be the quality of signal as you would get with a wired connection, as you can imagine.